So over the last couple of days, I've been starting a YouTube video series about MMOs and what their problems are. And I did a video on, are we optimizing the fun out of MMOs? And from that, somebody said I should do a video on, do flying mounts and fast travel break the immersion in persistent world games? Now, I know my channel is a very small sample size as I work hard to try to rebuild, but as you can see, about 73% of people say either flying mounts and fast travel do break the immersion, fast travel does, but I'm okay with flying mounts, or flying mounts do, but I'm okay with fast travel. It seems like maybe people want fast travel. And when I think about why would people want fast travel, I think about the article in Sam Cash, who in that article said, I don't think they're optimizing the fun away. That sounds like the kind of argument that some players might use to argue that a game shouldn't have a minimap or a group finder. But the really important part is, as if the fun was in screwing around for an hour, waiting for the actual game you want to play to begin. Now, I definitely understand that people don't want to wait around for an hour. And we had this in days past. We had the idea that you had to travel long distances, long hours. Please forgive me, it's been a very long time since I played EQ, but Final Fantasy XI, specifically traveling to Sky or traveling to Sea, you could take up to 60 minutes just traveling to where you wanted to go. And then it all kind of fell apart if anybody died, especially if it was the healer who died and there was no res. Now, as you can see on the screen, persistent worlds, we expect them to be beautiful. We want them to be beautiful. We've argued that they should be open world with no loading screens, but I'm confused as to why, because if we're going to have fast travel, then what does it matter if it's a seamless open world, no loading zone kind of game? I've heard a lot of complaints that Albion Online doesn't really fit the open world mentality because it has zone lines. Sure, I think the bigger concern is that the PvP happens at the zone lines and you can get caught. Sure, absolutely. I understand that. Everybody understands from yesteryear, you don't want to get caught at a zone line. EVE Online, you don't want to get caught at a gate camp. But if we're going to allow for fast travel and flying mounts, then what's the point of expecting the developer to spend a lot of time making a beautiful, persistent world? Why not just have a town that has 5 portals in it that leads you to the next Instamatch lobby, dungeon, Instamatch lobby, raid, or whatever have you? If I pause this very quickly and I go into Final Fantasy, what I'm talking about with that sort of insta-capture mentality is that in Final Fantasy, I don't ever have to actually go anywhere. What I can do is I can quite simply open up a duty finder, and then I can do everything on my dailies. If I want to do a particular dungeon, I can find the dungeon, I can queue into it, it'll automatically party finder me, it'll automatically teleport me to the dungeon, I'll do the dungeon, and then when I'm done, I'll end up right back here. If I want to do raids, if I want to do trials, I can do all of that without ever actually having to travel anywhere. Now, I absolutely understand people's complaint with this. It's like, we want an open world game, we want it to be meaningful, we want it to be significant, but we don't want to travel to it. And I think the problem is there's no risk, there's no reward, there's no benefit. I don't know if you saw it, but I did a video on a game, well, a concept from a game, and what it was, it's the idea that live events are run by staff. Real world events. Kind of like you're sitting at the table with the dungeon master, and you can see if the characters spend a long time in a given area, you can check for wandering monsters by rolling a d20. On a roll of 17 to 20, an encounter takes place. Conversely, if the players seem restless, you can decide that an encounter occurs. Roll a d12 and consult the Wandering Monsters table. I think this is amazing. And if you didn't check out the video on events run by live staff, that's up there in the corner. I think it's a very good idea, and I'm very interested to see how Eternal Tombs does it. If I go back to some of the comments left on the video, on the poll I did, and the poll's up there if you want to contribute. It's okay as long as you're able to attack the flying mounts. I could agree with that. It was at least the death of World of Warcraft. The flying mounts in the old world, I mean. And absolutely, one of the problems with putting flying mounts in the old world of World of Warcraft is that it wasn't designed for those mounts. I'm taken back to where Jeffrey Bard, when he was the lead game designer on Intrepid Studios' Ashes of Creation, what he said was, in reference to parkour, putting parkour in places is kind of dangerous because you have to think about what content was designed to go through, and now what content are you allowing players to bypass by going up and over. And I've thought about that over the years, and I've thought about game design, and I kind of think to myself, I want the world to be dangerous again. Now, I was looking at some games that are in development. Throne and Liberty pretty much has zones for the levels. It kind of indicated that on all the stuff we saw in the previews. I've not had a chance to play in Korea. I'm waiting for the global launch, but it kind of seems like the next game coming out of the chute is going to be level designed. Archeage had level designed. Each zone had its own level. One game that I'm really excited for is Ashes of Creation, because their node system is going to change this zone is this level for these players, and pretty much every zone is going to have a range of content. I like I said, Eternal Tombs with the live events, that's another game coming out that I'm interested to see. Hey, 18 people have passed this rock, but the live event says every 20th player triggers an event at this rock. So you're running around in the world and you're like, oh my god, I got attacked by a spider or a zombie or a lich. That's going to make the world dangerous again. We go back. Fast travel might be okay, only if it's gated behind a significant in-game cost of some sort. Fuck flying mounts, gliders only. I think part of the give and take here is where we think about World of Warcraft. And World of Warcraft, you would dispatch your warlock and a couple of people to go to a dungeon and start to pull everybody there. Well, what was the point of there being a world? Revelation Online was another one. On Siege Saturday nights, the officers in the guild would try to position themselves in such a place that they could use the guild call function. Archeage had this as well. You could call your guild to you, and it really kind of breaks the idea of, well, I want an open world, but I want to be able to get to the content quickly. EVE Online, which prided itself on a very immersive, very dangerous world, eventually ended up having to put in jump bridges so that players could actually get from point A to point B without investing a long amount of real-world time. Because one thing I have questioned about Ashes of Creation and other games that want to have limited fast travel, the average player now has 3 hours a night to game. The average player. You might be a college student and have 8 hours a day. You might be a college student in the summer or a high school student who has 24 hours a day for 3 months at a time. But the average gamer has about 3 hours a night. I can say the average gamer is not going to want to spend 90 minutes traveling to a piece of content to try to do 60 minutes of content to know they can only make it halfway home. I'm not saying I agree with fast travel. I am saying that we have to make sure that we keep the player in mind. After all, when we played RPGs, the game master could kind of dictate the length of the session. Oh no, my players are chewing through everything I had designed. Let me throw another thing for him. That's why the dice roll was secretly hidden behind the shield. So you guys camp for the night and you're attacked by 5 skeletons. Not because I really wanted that throwaway encounter, but because I know that you guys chewed through some stuff or you figured something out quick and we're supposed to game till 10 o'clock tonight. We kind of try to put the roll, R-O-L-E, back into the dice roll, R-O-L-L, gaming. I think the best comment that I saw and what I had asked was, fast travel also doesn't help. If you just need to unlock it and then sit there 15 minutes AFK flying from A to B, you're not playing the game. Now, I think this version of fast travel that they're referencing is automatic travel, carriage, flight path, boat. Travel needs to be interesting. Just auto running on a mount is not gameplay. If you have obstacles on the way or things to gather or dangers, then traveling matters. Yes, absolutely. And I like what they said. It's like the Lord of the Rings. If they could have flown, it was boring. If they just needed to walk, it was also boring. Not everything needs to be super epic, but at least make it worthwhile. And this is really why I'm hoping we see some of the things that Intrepid Studios has talked about, where you get random quests forming in the day. As you travel, you run into a caravan that's lost a wheel or a caravan that's been damaged. You run into a quest giver who just happens to be somewhere. In Ash's pre-alpha, they had a quest, where are all these rabbits coming from? It only spawned when you walked into an area. If you walked too far out of the area, the quest disappeared. Those are the things that we need. We need the trip to be worthwhile. Now, I want to jump into Final Fantasy again real quick. As you saw in the video in the background, my character is in the old zone, just moving place to place. The problem really comes in, they added in flying into the old zones. So while in the video you saw me walk down this path, if I want to get to this waterfall, I can now just go up and over, and I can just go around the content. I don't think we were designed to go around the content, although having a flying mount does allow me to get to some very picturesque places, but it kind of ruins it. Now, as you saw in the video, I was never attacked. Does it really matter then? No, not really. I'm a level 90 character in a level, I think, 1 to 5 zone. I think this zone that I'm traveling through right now is about 1 to 5. There's not a lot here. Now, this little guy is supposed to be the big threat. He's not a big threat. Not to me, not to level 90. You know, you come over here and you see a goblin camp, but unfortunately, it's not worthwhile. There's no lore here. There's no event here. Nothing's going to happen. I can slaughter these poor goblins all day. I'm never going to get a pop event. I'm never going to get a goblin king. I'm never going to get elite goblin warriors coming to saying, hey, why are you killing all of our goblins? It's just simply another yesteryear sort of thing where this is a level 9 zone. The goblins are probably level 12, maybe? Level 11? They're no threat. We need to put the threat back in the persistent world. That's just my opinion. I really want to know what you think. Do you agree with the poll? Do you agree that flying mounts and fast travel break the immersion in persistent worlds? I'll put a link in the description below. What do you think about persistent worlds being ever-changing, being ever-threatening? Should you always be at risk when you're playing an MMORPG? Or should there be periods of time where you know you're in a safe zone, you've made it to a zone line, and you're at no threat, be it from the world, be it from the environment, or be it from other players? I'll see you guys next time when I'm live on Twitch.